you ever hear the prophecies about that?
Yeah, sure. About religion specifically?
Well,
or the serpent's tails? Or
yeah, serpent's tails. It's all about that. It's all about that. Somebody pointed it out to me the other day that, but I don't know if I told you this or not, that I never even thought about it, that this whole movement that's happening in the South. Because in that story, they say that this white serpent was going to cross the ocean. It's going to come from the east and come here and attack the red serpent and nearly kill it. Nearly kill that red serpent. Like, be so badly wounded, won't even remember who it is. And it'll dominate this land for a long time. And then this black serpent is going to come from the south and it's going to attack the white serpent and fight it so badly that the white serpent's tail is not going to want to be a part of this fight, and it's going to break away and be broken, but break away. And when that happens, the red serpent is going to drag himself up into the high ground away from this battle, and it's going to heal. It's going to go there to heal, go there to get better. And in the process of doing that, that white serpent's tail is going to follow that red serpent up into the hills, up into the high ground to heal as well, to get better. And this black serpent is gonna bite that white serpent's head and mortally wound him. And that white serpent is gonna get really badly hurt and go home. He's gonna go back into the salt water to the east and head back in the direction it came. And it'll sink below the water, like under the surface, and we won't see it again. And that black serpent will look at the red serpent up on the hill and the tail up there beside it. And then it's gonna turn away, and then it'll make its way back down south where it came from. And we won't see it again either. And then the red serpent will heal, and the red serpent and the white tail will be healthy and happy again, and be the only ones here in the land. I've heard lots of people talk about that in my life, and some of them Crees, they believe that these oil pipelines, that's the black serpent, and that the oil economy is going to be what's going to kill that white serpent, and that the white serpent's tail broke off already. That's all these activists and environmental activists that's been the last straw, watching this Mordorn happen and the tar sands and all these pipelines being crisscrossing, and the environmentalists, and they don't want nothing to do with it. And so they're joining allegiance in the hilly country with the red serpent, who's broken, who's destitute, who's going up into the hills and healing. And then somebody pointed out to me the other day, they said, is there any chance that that black serpent, that's like Black Lives Matter, and like this movement of black people in the South, they're all congregating in the South, and they're pushing on the white serpent, and they're fighting? I never even thought of that. You know, I thought maybe China would come up, because they call that the Chinese army the Black Snake, and I thought maybe the Chinese were going to attack the United States and Canada, coming from some of them communist countries in the South, maybe allianced with like Venezuela or Bolivia or something like that, and strike, come up, and or that they're alliance through the Russians with Cuba or something like that. That's what I was thinking. And then I don't know why I never even dawned on me. Well, wait a minute, there's a great big black serpent and it's pissed, and it's organizing, and it has an enemy. Yeah. Maybe we'll see that. I don't know. Maybe that's that black serpent. I'm not really that worried about that. People have asked me, well, how will we know? How will we know it's time? We don't really need to know that because there's another whole set of prophecies about that. That there's certain things we're going to see. And when we see them, it's time to go onto the high ground. They said that first we're going to see strange diseases come that no one had ever seen before, and they were gonna kill people, and they will spread. They'll spread in the most natural way that we interact with each other, and then the trees will die from the tops down, and then the earth is gonna get hot. It'll warm up. The actual earth itself will warm, where the animals like deer will, it'll be too warm for them to stand with all 4 feet on the ground, and they'll start standing on 3, lifting one at a time, moving them. And then we'll begin to see white animals born again. And all of the white animals of the earth, they were all given the same instructions to turn against all the creatures that Kanenhariyo made, including the human beings. Destroy them. That's their only instructions. And they will see them again. And the reason is because the thunder beings will stop keeping them under the ground, because everyone will have stopped giving thanks and paying attention to the thunder beings. And so they'll stop trying to help. And then the water of the earth will turn on the human beings, and our giver of life will kill us. Will begin to kill humans. It'll be dangerous to drink her. And when that happens, we're supposed to go into the high ground and return to our original instructions, and to support ourselves, sustain ourselves from the land, and to relearn who we are, and to pick up our culture that got scattered all over the ground, and to live those, be our ancestors. Because what's coming is that there will be a war, and there'll be fire in the sky. It's going to scorch across the sky, and the people will they'll swarm out of the cities like rats. They said it'll be the same as when the rats jumped off the boats when they first came. And that we are not to go and get involved, and we are not to go and help them, and we need to keep our doors closed, because they didn't come there to learn, and they didn't come there to be peaceful. They're gonna come because they're trying to survive. They're just trying to take whatever they can. And we were told, what they say was that we will be able to smell the smell of rotting bodies in the air. It'll be on the wind. Death will be on the wind. And we're supposed to gather up all the knowledge holders, all the old ones and the young ones, who were the knowledge of our ancestors was passed to them. And any of the people that are around us, whose ancestors it was passed to them. It might not just be our own people. And we're supposed to keep them safe, put them away. They say is we're supposed to put them in the ground, like in caves, and put them with the little kids. And we're supposed to stay closed our doors long enough that an entire babies that are born there will grow up to have their own children before we spread out, because the only people that are going to survive will be the people who continue to follow their original instructions. The people who continue to have a special, loving, full relationship with our mother. And no one else is going to make it. And they're going to kill themselves or starve to death. And so we need to wait for an entire generation to grow up never knowing this world, so they don't make it, they don't repeat it, and they won't miss it to make it new again. So when I go into the cities, I just see dead people. They just don't know it yet.
Who do you think originated that prophecy?
I don't know. Our people talk about it. The Hopis talk about it. Mayans talk about it. I'm trying to remember who else I've heard. There was a series of...
This is like the end of the world prophecy or the serpent's prophecy?
They're connected. They're the same damn thing.
Yeah.
And it's not the end of the world. It might be the Christians' fucking end of the world prophecy. It might be.
The apocalypse.
It might be their apocalypse. I'm okay with it. And it might be the only thing the Indians are hanging on to have some hope. But they began having a series of conferences. The first one they had was in 1947. And all the head knowledge keepers and medicine men gathered. And they had a meeting in Hopi country in 1947. Then they had another one in 1953. I think it was 1953, and it was in Tuscarora. And then they had one in 1955, and then in 1957. And they carried right on till the 70s. And they continued to share the prophecies and exchange medicine and seeds. And then big people began getting prepared. And it was at that point that we seen the first waves of Guamule people all over North and South America go into the high ground. First ones, Ganyange was one of them. There's a Stony Boy community in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. They went into the mountains in the 60s. They're still there, waiting, and still following their instructions and living off the land. There's a couple communities up north in northern Ontario that did that. I believe some of the Hopis have done that. That's essentially what the Zapatistas have done. And I think that we're seeing another wave of that happening again. We're seeing that in British Columbia with these people who are these so-called encampments. And I think that there's a part of it that's about activism and stopping this environmental catastrophe. But the motivation for stopping the environmental catastrophe is associated with this prophecy. because if they're high ground and their place that they can go to live off the land gets destroyed, then they have no way to do that. That's the motivation. To survive what's coming. So our prophecies, there's no stopping them, what they're gonna do. There's no, they're gonna kill themselves off. Really, all it will take is China and Russia to kick the chair out from underneath the World Bank and the American dollar, and their economies will collapse. The entire Commonwealth economy will collapse, and those people will all start again.
Yeah, and it's entirely possible to imagine an exchange of nuclear weapons.
Oh yeah, it's possible. Yeah, they're completely on different continents. They all watched Fukushima, and now they know that the incredible nuclear meltdown isn't that bad of a fallout from that distance.
Even though its effects haven't really been fully felt
But
or even studied.
that's how it'll be seen.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki are thriving cities today.
Exactly.
Of course, Iraq is highly lethal, and Afghanistan from all the depleted uranium they've been showering down there.
Yeah. So it's very likely. So that's what we were taught. That was what was passed to us when we were kids. That was our becoming men and women. What was passed to us about why it was important to keep our culture alive and our language. And we were told that we would see it in our lifetime. That we were going to be the generation of people who would be there and be the able-bodied ones to make sure that they get into the high ground. And we were told that that we had to be prepared. And it's funny because all of my sort of like generation of people that were raised with that, we're all doing that. We all got little hobby farms, and we all got fucking. We all got we're growing crops and we're canning, and we're not doing it on a massive scale, but we're doing it enough that we're capable, and we know how, and that we're able. So because of that, for me, I basically spent my entire adult life preparing to get ready to move the people or to establish a place on high ground where the people can relearn who they are again, where we can figure it out, where we have the opportunity to figure it out, where we're not being manipulated and we're not being interfered with by, whether it's the Indian Act or whatever, and bring our language back to life again in a living way, and bring our social economy back to life again, and to have a strong relationship with the land. And as I've been watching what's happening in the environment and what's happening politically and so on, and the development that's happening particularly in our territory in Southern Ontario and in Northern New York State, it's increasingly becoming more intensified. For me, anyways, the notion that it's time to go. We watched AIDS arrive, and it gets spread by our most intimate way to interact with each other, and no one knows where it comes from, and we don't know how to fix it. And the maple trees all died from the tops down. The fucking acid rain killed, and that Dutch elm tree bug came and it did the same thing, and it killed the trees from the tops down. And then we watched that white buffalo get born, and now it's crazy. Now it's like I was just reading the other day. There's a park in Vancouver, and a park, and there's like 10 pairs of white ravens, and there's an entire island of white black bears, and they've come across a whole series of pure white grizzly bears, not polar bears, grizzly bears, and it's obscene a number of white deer. In fact, there's a park. In Seneca territory, just across the river, or just across over there, the falls. It's full of white deer, and there's white moose being born, and elk, and we know that they're all been given the instruction to destroy the human beings. That's why they're all coming here. We haven't seen them in 5,000 years, 10,000 years. The people out on the west coast, they talk about it, that there was an eagle, there was a raven, and when the white raven returned, it meant that there was a new time. There was a change coming, and it's there. It's here. And then, we've seen even these white snakes are being born, and then not one of our communities, well, only one in all of our communities, you can drink the water. It's toxic. It'll hurt you. The water turned on us. So now we're trucking water in from a filtration plant. There's nothing lovingful about that. It's not our life giver, our sustenance. We're forcing it to be even remotely safe for us. And instead of focusing on changing the way we're interacting with our environment so that our water's healthy, we're putting in pipelines, and we're putting in water treatment plants instead of apologizing to our mother for how we treated her and put the trees back, the filter for all the water. Yeah, so I believe that for me, I'm motivated now that I spent my whole life studying and learning and trying to get prepared. Not like it was like some kind of crazy, doomsday prepper. I guess kind of, but more about reconnecting to our culture and also the earth, our mom, and living apart with her, a part of her. And I knew that our elders told us that we would be the ones that would see it. We couldn't be caught when it's time and then not know about it and then not do something about it, not be ready and not be prepared. So yeah, I fully am planning to be a part of a movement of people to take land and to do that very thing, because it's here. All of the signs have arisen. The settlers are killing Earth, and they dragged our people into it with them. And it's time for the red serpent to go up on the hills and heal again. And we're seeing it. Like, we're seeing the Unistotic camp. That's what they're doing, and they're letting the broke off whitetail come along for the ride and learn how to do it too.
The white tail says hi.
What's that?
The white tail says hi.
Yeah, right.
It's there.
It's there. You're sitting right here with me, right? And it's happening all over. It's here. It's now. It's not some time in the future that we gotta be aware of. It's like right now, and we don't know how long it's gonna take for them to really make a mess. I don't know, but this is what we're seeing happen. And I keep hearing people like, well, what can the settlers do, and
be the white tail.
Yeah, be the white tail, because otherwise, like, the doors are closed. Fucking die or go home. You don't want to listen, and you don't want to change. No, it's not just about how do we reconcile our relationship. It literally means like change every aspect about how you live and how you interact with the world.